And Rick, we can't wait to get your take on this next one. So Chris Rock told an audience at one of his latest comedy shows that he won't be talking about the Will Smith drama until he gets paid. So Rick, you've been doing comedy for over 3 decades. What do you think of this?
Oh, there's a lot to unpack there, although I don't know who's going to pay him because there's really not a lot to say. You know, he can sit down with Ellen or Oprah and they're going to say, what happened? And he's going to say, I made a bad joke and Will Smith slapped me in the face. There's really not much to report past that. But of course, there's a lot to unpack for the whole incident just because it was so incredibly bizarre. And people are suggesting that perhaps now there's a war on the joke and people overreacting to jokes. There's a lot to discuss.
What do you think about that? Like, I'm just curious, like, A, your reaction to it in the real time, and then B, like, how you as a comedian feel about it. Are there lines?
Well, it's just getting so weird to do live television now. I don't need to tell you that. I mean, the Oscars had to give up having hosts, and now they might have to give up having presenters and maybe winners. Like, maybe no one can go on the Oscars anymore. You know, the issue is not whether it was a good joke or not, because I think most people realize it wasn't a very good joke and it was an old joke. But you can't get between a comedian and a laugh. And I bet you what happened was Chris Rock was backstage. He was watching the monitor. He made that joke. Someone laughed. And then, of course, he went out and he was like, oh, I've got to laugh. And he blurted it. But obviously, anyone in show business knows how unhinged Will Smith must have been, because you just don't do that on live television. And it's a long walk up there. Walking up those stairs and then to assault a person and then walk down and then to continue yelling obscenities. Again, that's just not done on live television, let alone at the Oscars. So, you know, a guy assaulting a guy in a parking lot is unhinged, but what we saw there was unhinged to a factor of 10 easily.
Yeah. Rick, you mentioned a lot of people sort of talking about whether we're in an era where it's the death of the joke. And I think that's kind of like an interesting conversation, because I don't know about you guys, but there are things that I laughed at or laughed about when I was much younger, when I was a teenager, say, that I simply wouldn't find funny now. And I think that's very normal. You know, culture evolves. We evolve as people. We might find something offensive today that we didn't find offensive 20 years ago because of the culture evolving. But I think something that's always been steady, like even since comedy was invented or at least recorded, was the punching up. It's okay to punch up, meaning that you can make fun of politicians who are above your station. The jester can make fun of the king. But when you punch down, it stops being funny.
Do you think that was what was going on here? Do you think Chris was punching down?
I think that's sort of a constant. I'm just trying to say that comedy does change, but there are some things that I think are universally funny and always have been. And it's okay to make fun of.
Rick, I'd like to, but the question I have for you, Rick, as a comedian.
You're absolutely right about punching up. You know, when you're a kid, you make fun of the teacher, that's a big laugh. But if you can make fun of the principal, bigger laughs. Like punching up, it's very important to punch up. But there is a bit of a war on the joke. You know, I understand there's certain things you don't joke about, but there's also, if you made the list of things you can't joke about, it's being added to every single day. And it's also at a point now where it's in HR policies. It's like you're not allowed to joke in the workplace. And you made a joke, and someone says, "Yeah, but it was about the photocopier," and they're like, "Still, you can't make a joke about the photocopier. That's just you've crossed a line." So there's just no jokes at all. So it's getting harder and harder to work your way through that minefield. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I don't know though, but like, is it the death of the joke if Chris Rock is out here saying, I'm not talking about this unless I get paid? And I do think it's a little bit strategic. This is his first comedy tour in 5 years. His last 2 tours were on Netflix. 2 comedy specials, was paid $40 million, reportedly.
Sure.
So if he's saying, I'm not talking about this joke, or I'm not talking about this situation and putting it in my comedy show until I get paid, I mean, I do think that's kind of like a beam on top of his head with when is my Netflix deal or HBO Max deal or whatever getting signed so that you all can come film my tour to put it on the... And I'm not mad at that either, but I don't think that's the death of the joke. In fact, I would think that that's a multi-million-dollar insurgence into the joke.
Yeah.
I kind of think he was making a joke when he said he wasn't going to talk about it until he was paid. I kind of think that he was making a joke there, but I have no idea.
Well